Hello everybody and welcome to Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I am your host, Adam Patron.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock, and it is now that time, it is now that season of the MLB season where we can start getting into that trade deadline rumors. We're going to be looking at the buyers, the sellers, all those potential guys in the middle who don't really know their identities yet. Before we get into it though, folks, please make sure to like and subscribe and use Monkey Knife Fight Today, Jays is the code. You get some sweet deals. All right, so I'm just going to start this off real quickly. LA, New York, San Diego Padres. We don't need to talk about them. They are going to buy.
They're going to buy.
Kansas City, the Reds. We don't need to talk about them either because they are going to sell.
Well, I hope the Kansas City Royals sell. They didn't sell last year. Same with the Rockies. I hope they sell.
Yeah,
but they're kind of a middle team, but they're going to sell, hopefully.
Yes.
But they should. Yes, they should.
This video is going to be looking more at some of those teams, as I said in the intro, that don't really know their identity yet, that could swing either way. So, I definitely want to talk a lot about the Blue Jays, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about our rivals in the AL East, the Boston Red Sox, who have now gone on a pretty good run. I think, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you would have said, God damn, they are on a fast track to Sellville. This is going to be a big yard sale. They're going to get the bag for a lot of these dudes. But now they're 32-29. What are your thoughts on them now?
Well, I mean, first they got to stay hot for me to change my mind. But my mind is made up, and it is, they're going to be a cautious buyer if they're going to compete. They were a cautious buyer last year, and they were beating us, and we bought like crazy, right? So like the Boston Red Sox, that's what they seem to do, cautiously buy. You get Schwarber, and that's kind of it. I think if they are going to buy, they need to go get some pitch. That's 100%.
And I think for them too, they don't have a locked down closer really. They don't really know who that role is. Yeah. It's like if they thought that they knew coming into the season, that hasn't worked out for them. They need to get like a lockdown closer. I do think that they're going to buy. I think especially the fact that JD Martinez is so good and they don't have him for too much longer. Xander Bogaerts is so good. He's going to be gone.
Both those guys could be gone.
It's like I think that they have a window right now. Yeah. And they kind of need to cash in on this before those guys are gone. Yeah. So I do think that they're definitely going to buy in. I think the closer is where they need to go.
True.
Moving over to some other AL East guys, some more contentious ones here. Again, sellers, off the top, immediately. Maybe not anymore. Cleveland Guardians. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing with the Cleveland Guardians. They set up their team where it's like they're all very young, and they all have, pre-ARB, maybe ARB1, maybe ARB2, and they just locked down J-Ram. So they're not going to be selling their big piece.
No.
So they're actually in a nice place to actually maybe add a little bit. And cautiously add. I don't think they should go crazy all in. I mean, maybe they should. Maybe if they add a few more big pieces, this is the year. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be buyers this season, cautious buyers.
And at the end of the day, they are in a wild card spot right now. If the White Sox continue to White Sox it up, I don't see how they can't be buying, especially with that big extension. That extension, and I guarantee these conversations happened when they were talking to J-Ram about this extension, is J-Ram said, hey, listen, I want to play here, but I want to be on a team that actually is trying to win games. And I guarantee they said, all right, listen, we are going to be trying to win games with you. And that means that they're going to buy. So I definitely think that the Cleveland Guardians are going to buy. I was reading an article. I wish I could quote who it was by. I apologize. But they were saying they could go as crazy and go out and get a Frankie Montas and have him locked down for another season.
That would be a nice addition, actually.
It would.
Yeah.
You think about their team makeup, you go, hey, they have all these guys who just kind of exploded on offense. You get another guy in that pitching rotation. It's like, holy shit, maybe they are a team right now.
Yeah, a quick shout out to Josh Naylor, Mississauga native.
Yeah,
Canadian
literally.
He's having an all-star year.
He's having an incredible season, dude. In that way, he also had an all-star TikTok video where he just absolutely lost his mind on some fans.
Oh yeah,
after hitting a walk-off something.
Yeah, that was awesome. Oh, that was a good one.
Very good, very good. Speaking of the Chicago White Sox and White Soxing it up, they're in a weird area, dude. They're in a weird area.
I think they can turn it around, but But there's just a part of me that's like, you got to start chopping off some heads, and that head is Tony La Russa.
Right.
You know, we have a clip coming out. We had it come out in the past couple of days. It's time for someone to go because their makeup is so perfect. Their bullpen is perfect. Their starting rotation's perfect. Their lineup should be perfect, but their lineup is really bad right now. And so if they are going to buy, I guess you would buy a couple bats, but that's not the solution. It needs to be chopped off with the head.
And I also think, too, like, you don't look at this team and you think, well, we can't really be selling pieces because we should be winning this division. I don't think that this team sells anything at all with Tony La Russa as the manager, because I think that whole regime's mentality is, like, if Tony La Russa starts selling, he knows I'm gone. Yeah. He knows I'm out of here. Like, this is it for me. Like, we need to be, like, he'll probably be, talking to the management saying, like, we probably got to buy some people right now to keep his job. Yeah. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. If anyone's going to get sold, it's going to be Tony La Russa dipping out of the freaking
to the
building.
dumpsters. They'll be sold to the dump.
Exactly, man. But I maybe some cautious buys there, but
that's all I see. Yeah, no big buys.
I don't really know, man. Let's talk about the Blue Jays now. Let's talk a little bit about the Toronto Blue Jays, considering we're in the freaking title. We're 35-24. I think that at this point, the whole selling thing, like, we're not sellers. We're definitely not sellers.
No, we're not.
We are definitely going to be buyers, and I think that you could make an argument that we could be big, heavy buyers, potentially in, the market for a big trade. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, big buyers, the biggest piece that I think we could add as a player could be a starting pitcher, I think. Like, if we're looking, you're talking about Frankie Montas, well, who says that we don't go and get Frankie Montas? I'm just throwing it out in the universe. Yeah. We've had some ups and downs from Kikuchi. I mean, Stripling's been really great, but, he could fall off any moment. Ryu's been hurt. Who's to say? Barrios has been kind of consistent. Why don't we add another starting rotation guy?
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. And I used to be of the mindset where it's like, we didn't really need it. But then I saw what the Dodgers did last year, and I'm like, well, they didn't really need it either, but they just did it anyways and got way better.
Yeah.
It's possible. I think that the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's all in the way that you phrase this and you look at it, I think that we could be sellers if you're talking about selling off one of our big catchers.
Yeah.
And we already talked about that. It's like, and if we are getting rid of one of our catchers, then you got to think to yourself, it's like, well, that return is going to be pretty damn big, which then effectively makes us pretty big buyers.
Exactly. I mean, okay, not to transition from Blue Jays, but same thing with the Yankees. Like, they have Joey Gallo, they have Aaron Hicks, they have Andujar, who are all on their bench, not really performing the greatest, but still good players in their own right. And if they get a full starting job somewhere, someone's willing to buy that.
If they could, like, flip that for something that not that they need anything,
but
it's like, you can always upgrade, right?
You could always do that. So, like, recycle the things that aren't working and get it better.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I agree. And I do think the Toronto Blue Jays, like, we're in a position right now where, maybe we can't win our division just because the Yankees are so good, but we will 100% be competing for that number one wild card spot right up until the end, I think. And we need bullpen.
Yeah,
we need bullpen.
That's the big one. And there's so many good bullpen guys out there. We've talked about Bednar. We've talked about David Robertson. There's another guy in the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe we'll make a video on this specifically. His name's Lopez, forgetting his first name, but this dude has under a 1 ERA. There's another guy on that team with an under a 1, and then I think 2 other guys under 2.
And I think it goes without saying, guys, but Baltimore Orioles will probably be sellers.
Sellers, and
unless they can retain these. I don't know what their contracts are, but if they can retain them for like 4 years, they probably don't sell them.
Right.
But like, they're going to sell.
That's why I think it's going to be Lopez. He's on ARB 1 right now, if I'm not mistaken. The other guys are pre-ARB, so they'll probably keep those guys. But, maybe ARB 1, maybe it's like, it's coming up. Maybe sell. Right. Maybe sell, flip it something.
Well, you could also, use that as a transition then over to another seller, in my opinion, which is going to be the Colorado Rockies. Now, they are, like, kind of around the 500 mark, but they're going to sell guys. They got a few guys that I'm really interested in. And Daniel Bard. And Alex Colome right there. Yeah. Both with really low 2 ERAs. Yeah. That I think, pretty much every single team that we've talked about, Cleveland, Boston, us, Yankees, those are guys, these two guys, Daniel Bard and Alex Colome, they are going to be on different teams. Probably in the AL, considering they're deep in the AL. So
I hope so. Again, another team that's like when they were supposed to sell, they just didn't last year, and they didn't sell Gray, they didn't sell Story when they're both gone. So what did you get, management? You got nothing. You got literally nothing.
I feel like they have to realize that.
Well, they have
to. I'm taking the logical route here and just thinking that it's like, okay, well, like, we did a dumb last season. We're not going to do that same dumb thing this year. We have some good guys. We're clearly not going to make playoffs. Let's, flip them for other good guys.
That's how it's supposed to be done. We just got to go see it. I got to see it to believe it, to be honest, because I was shook last year. Another team that actually sold last year, and I think they're going to sell again, is Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs are a clear sell.
Yeah, they're a sell.
Dude, they have Miley. I've talked about him before.
Right.
Wade Miley, he's on his last year. He could be good. And he could be one of those, like, modest conservative buys. Like, I could see the Red Sox buying him. Just be like, a modest starting pitcher. Because the Red Sox kind of are the same way. Where they're in the middle of the buying. They don't really go big or go home.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, David Robinson, as we talked about.
David Robinson is 100% getting sold. He's going to be the big piece right there. And maybe even if they really want to get things going, and this is the big contentious name, Wilson Contreras getting shipped off. And I mean, I've seen too many links of Wilson Contreras to the New York goddamn Yankees.
Oh my
and that's
god!
Just, like,
yes, that does make sense.
It
but
makes
come
perfect.
on.
It makes perfect sense, dude. It sucks because it makes absolute perfect sense.
No,
and it's like you want to make that team get better. That's how.
Yeah,
that is literally like would be the biggest upgrade that they could probably make.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah, it is.
So I don't like that at all, dude.
No.
But I mean, that could very well happen. Another team, if you're looking at potentially picking up a good starting pitcher or two, I'm surprised that this team almost is flirting with 30 wins. 29 wins right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
I think it's fluky. I don't think that they are, they're definitely going to be sellers. Like, I know that they also did the kind of Cleveland extension with Ketel Marte on their team, but I just don't see it happening, man. You know, Madison Bumgarner, he's a good piece. Zach Davies is a good piece.
Yeah.
David Peralta is like a average outfielder who could get sold. They have to sell.
They have to, right? I mean, okay. So when let me throw this out to you. When they signed Ketel Marte, what was the idea behind that?
I think it's probably the same thing as Cleveland, which is
J-Ram?
With J-Ram,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, like we need to have some guy here to sell some tickets. We don't have a great team right now, but maybe in 3 years we could.
Okay,
and if you think about it, Arizona has 29 wins. Cleveland has 29 wins as well.
Okay,
it just so happens that like the divisions are obviously very different. So it's like they're kind of in the same spot. Cleveland's just in a much better spot as far as like rankings go, but they still got to sell.
You're not going to win in that division with the Padres and the Dodgers being how they are.
Exactly, dude. Maybe I don't know how many more teams you got, but like one of my final teams that I really want to look at, which is super interesting and like maybe one of the most contentious to talk about, especially with everything that's going on with them.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Phillies. They are 30-30. They are right at the 500 mark. They just got rid of the manager, so now it's like everything's all up in the air. We don't really know what the direction this team is, but since getting rid of that manager, they've been really, really good at baseball. They have an MVP caliber playing at an MVP caliber level in Bryce Harper. They have a pretty good offense. What are the Philadelphia Phillies going to do?
Oh my god! That's another team that's like I just don't know because we haven't seen this team in the past. Maybe the firing of Joe Girardi like kind of sparked them to like, okay, now this is our year. This big winning streak happens. Who are they going to buy? I have no clue. Honestly, I'll be just straight up. I have no clue because I just don't see them as buyers. I don't see them as winners, even though they went on this hot streak. I just don't.
Yeah, I think the literally jury's still out with them, man. Like, this hot streak continues. And again, like, I think that they are a good team on paper. They were a team I was looking at in the offseason and going, damn, that is a really good baseball team. I expect them to win a lot of games. If that firing just changed everything, they just had a bad, like, month and a half of baseball to start, and now we're seeing the true identity of the Philadelphia Phillies. Come 3 weeks from now, they're like 10 games up from 500, 100% buyers, but the jury is just not ready to freaking convene on this. We're confused, and we don't know what's going on.
Maybe they pull a Braves last year, and they buy a bunch.
I mean,
who saw the Braves buying
literally,
where they were?
They could, right? They absolutely could. And the Phillies, like, I do know what they need, and it's still a bullpen, apparently.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they still need some bullpen.
We hear you guys, Philly fans.
I understand that, dude. I understand that. You got any more teams?
That's pretty. Oh, the last one actually. This team was a definite buyer. It's the Mets, but I wanted to briefly touch on it. They're 15th in ERA right now. That's average for a team that had so much pedigree because they have no DeGrom, no Scherzer right now.
That's got to be the problem.
And that's the problem. And it's like, okay, they're going to be going out and getting a big fish. They could be going to get Montez, too. They could. Who knows?
I can't see. I don't want them.
They have to. They have
the Mets,
to.
guys. I think I told you folks before, but I'm not a big fan of the Mets just because they just keep pissing me off. Everyone that we want and we're in on as the Blue Jays,
they're also
in on,
yeah.
and they win majority of those interchanges.
Yep.
Actually, one last team, Angels.
No. I'm off the Angels. I was on them 2 weeks ago. Yeah, let's go. No, I just
sell,
can't see
buy,
it.
anything.
They're nothing. They're just gonna float.
They're just nothing.
They're just gonna float and die.
Dude, I think the Angels, they have to be top 5 worst managements in baseball. I think. You just literally though, it's how stupid you need to be to have Mike Trout on your team for a decade and
nothing's
and
happened.
not have a playoff win.
And you get Ohtani, arguably the best player in baseball in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Or at least last season.
You have to be fucking dumb to fuck that up, and they're screwing it up right now, dude. So I could totally see the Angels shipping off Ohtani for fucking Daniel Bard or something, calling it a day,
we need bullpen.
We need bullpen.
You want Ohtani?
Just take him.
What are you doing? Oh no!
Daniel Bard, eh? Damn. All right, guys. Well, that was our video on buyers and sellers come trade deadline. It's a little bit early. Things are going to change, but comment down below your thoughts on it. Who do you think is buying and selling? What do you think these teams need? If you're a fan of the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees or anything, you comment down below what you thought about this and what your team needs to go after.
Hey guys, $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out, thank you to all of our Patreon members. You guys rock and roll.
Thank you so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!